The wind howled across the barren landscape of the mining colony, tearing at the metal walls of Mark's small home. Outside, the storm raged with a fury that seemed almost alive, scattering debris and sending clouds of dust swirling into the air. Inside, Mark moved carefully across the floor, his daughter Lily clinging to his side. She was small, no more than 8, with bright brown eyes that reflected both curiosity and fear. "Daddy, do we have to stay inside all night?" she asked, tugging at the hem of his sleeve. "Yes, sweetie. The storm is too strong. If we go outside, we could get hurt," Mark replied, his voice calm but firm. He crouched down to look at her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I promise it won't last forever. Once the storm passes, we can go out and see the sky again." Lily nodded reluctantly and wrapped her arms around herself. The house, though small, was warm. Mark had managed to make it a home for them, despite the constant struggle to survive on the edge of human space. He had been alone for almost 3 years now, raising Lily after her mother had died in a mining accident. Life had been hard, but he had done his best to keep his daughter safe and happy. Just as he was settling Lily near the small heater, a sharp knock echoed through the house. Mark froze. The sound was strange and unexpected. At this hour, with the storm outside, no one should be near the house. He exchanged a wary glance with Lily. "Daddy, someone's at the door," she whispered. Mark grabbed the small flashlight he kept by the door and approached slowly. He peered through the window, but the storm made it almost impossible to see. Then through the swirling dust and rain, he saw her. She was tall, her figure slender and graceful despite the storm beating against her. Her skin had a faint shimmer, pale blue under the dim light, and her eyes, wide and deep, seemed almost liquid. She wore a long cloak that clung to her as the wind tried to tear it away. He hesitated. The colony was sparsely populated, and strangers were rare. Yet there was something about her presence that did not feel threatening. Perhaps it was the exhaustion in her stance, the way she seemed smaller under the storm's fury, or the quiet desperation in her eyes. Mark unlocked the door and opened it a crack. "Can I help you?" he called over the wind. The alien woman raised a hand in a gesture that seemed universal and said softly, "Please. I need shelter, just for one night. I have nowhere else to go." Mark's instincts told him to turn her away. He was a cautious man, living on the edge of human civilization, and encounters with strangers, especially aliens, could be dangerous. But something in her voice stopped him. It was not fear or threat he heard, but fatigue and vulnerability. He opened the door fully. "Come in, quickly, before the storm gets worse." She stepped inside, shivering, and Mark noticed the faint scent of ozone and minerals that clung to her. She introduced herself as Valera. Her voice was smooth and calm, almost melodic. Lily, who had been hiding behind her father, peeked out from behind Mark's legs, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Hi," she said softly. Are you okay?" Valera smiled gently and knelt to meet her gaze. "I'm fine, little one. Thank you for asking. My journey has been difficult." Mark gestured toward the small living room. "Sit by the heater. I'll make some food. You must be cold and hungry." Valera shook her head slightly. "No, I can manage, but—" "Thank you," Mark frowned. There was something strange about her. She seemed too composed, too careful with her movements, as if every step was calculated. Yet there was also a sense of weariness beneath it all. He decided not to press, knowing that kindness sometimes required silence. Over the next hour, the storm grew stronger, shaking the small home. Mark sat with Lily on the floor, trying to distract her with stories of space adventures and mining escapades. Valera remained quiet, watching them with an intensity that made Mark slightly uneasy. He couldn't tell if she was observing them for her safety or if she had some other reason. As the night deepened, Valera finally spoke. "Your daughter. She is brave. Most children would hide under the bed during a storm like this. She's strong," Mark said proudly, "and smart. I tried to teach her everything I know about surviving out here." Valera's eyes softened, and for a moment her composed demeanor faltered. "You are a good father. It is rare to see such care and dedication, especially in times like these." Mark nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had sacrificed much to raise Lily alone. Loneliness was a constant companion, though he rarely admitted it even to himself. And yet in the midst of the storm he felt a strange sense of connection with this alien stranger who had appeared at his doorstep. The night passed slowly. Mark kept one eye on Lily as she finally drifted to sleep, and he watched Valera from across the room. She moved with silent grace, tending to minor repairs in the home as if she was used to survival in harsh conditions. He wondered about her life, where she came from, and why she was alone. Then around midnight, a soft light blinked from Valera's cloak. She froze instantly, her expression shifting from calm to tense. Mark noticed it but did not speak, sensing that this was something he should not interrupt. Valera pulled a small device from the folds of her cloak. A faint holographic message appeared. Fugitive located. Contain immediately. Her eyes widened and her body tensed, but she did not make a sound. She pressed a series of buttons and the device vanished back into her cloak. Mark's curiosity got the better of him. "Valera, is everything okay?" he asked quietly. She turned to him, her eyes hardening for a brief moment before softening again. I must have a private moment. Please do not worry." Mark nodded slowly, though a knot of concern had formed in his stomach. There was no doubt now she was hiding something serious. But even with the uncertainty, he could not bring himself to turn her away. Not after seeing the storm outside, not after seeing the exhaustion in her eyes, and certainly not with Lily sleeping peacefully nearby. Hours passed in tense silence. The storm began to subside, leaving a heavy stillness in its wake. Dawn's first light seeped through the windows, casting a pale glow across the room. Mark stepped outside to check the surroundings, finding the colony's mining fields battered but intact. The storm had passed, but the sense of unease lingered. When he returned, Valera was sitting near the heater, her hands folded in her lap. "Thank you," she said softly. "For your kindness, it means more than I can say." Mark shrugged, trying to appear casual. "It's nothing. No one should be left out in a storm like that. We all need a little help sometimes." Valera's gaze lingered on him, and for a moment Mark felt as though she could see right into his thoughts. There was intelligence there, awareness, and perhaps gratitude. But also caution. She was calculating, planning, waiting. He realized that despite her frail appearance, she was far from defenseless. As breakfast approached, the atmosphere in the house lightened slightly. Lily was delighted to share her morning meal with Valera, asking endless questions about her life, her home planet, and the stars she had seen. Valera answered carefully, revealing just enough to intrigue but not enough to expose herself. Mark noticed the way Lily's eyes sparkled with wonder, and for a brief moment he felt relief. But the reprieve was short-lived. A distant vibration, faint but unmistakable, echoed through the ground beneath the house. Valera stiffened, her eyes darting toward the horizon. "They are coming," she said quietly. Mark froze. "Who's coming?" Valera stood, her posture shifting from calm to alert. "The ones hunting me. They will not stop until they find me." Mark's heart raced. He was not a soldier, nor a trained fighter. But he was a father, and he would do whatever it took to protect his daughter. "Then they won't find her," he said firmly. "I won't let anyone hurt Lily." Valera's expression softened, and she gave a small nod. "I did not come here to bring danger. I hoped only for shelter, but now you are part of this, whether you wish it or not." Together they began preparing the house, securing windows and reinforcing doors. Mark felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. He had faced many challenges on the frontier, but nothing like this. A fugitive alien pursued by forces beyond his comprehension, and his home at the center of it. As the morning sun rose fully, the distant hum of engines reached their ears. Mark looked toward the horizon and saw the faint shapes of ships descending toward the colony. Valera's eyes narrowed. "We do not have much time," she said. Mark tightened his grip on a small tool he had repurposed as a weapon. "Then let's make sure they regret coming here." For the first time in months, Mark felt alive with purpose, not just as a miner or a father, but as a protector. And as he glanced at Lily, playing quietly near the heater, he knew that whatever happened next, he would fight to keep his family safe. Valera moved beside him, silent and focused. Though he did not fully understand her abilities or her past, he sensed one truth clearly. She was not a threat. She was, like him, trying to survive, and together they would face whatever came from the stars. The storm had passed, but a new kind of chaos was arriving. And in that chaos, the lives of a single father, his daughter, and a mysterious alien fugitive would be forever changed. The hum of engines grew louder as Mark and Valera moved quickly through the house, securing doors and windows the best they could. Lily's small hands clutched a blanket as she watched from the corner, sensing the tension even if she didn't understand it fully. Mark's mind raced. They were not trained soldiers, yet the ships descending on the colony were clearly not here for a simple visit. He had only one thought. He would protect his daughter no matter what it took. Valira's eyes scanned the horizon, calculating distances, reading movements that Mark could barely perceive. "They are fast and organized," she said quietly. "But they underestimate humans. Your instincts, your unpredictability. It can work to our advantage," Mark frowned. "I'm just a miner. I don't know how to fight off interstellar authorities." "You are a protector," Valira said, her voice calm and firm. "And that is enough. Follow my lead." As the first landing shuttles touched down near the colony, Mark realized just how serious the situation was. The ships were sleek, almost predator-like, with bright lights scanning the ground. Small drones descended ahead of them, searching for signs of life. Valira moved with him, whispering instructions. "We must make them think the house is empty. Lead them away from your daughter." Mark nodded, though fear clutched at him. He grabbed a few items, a portable scanner, some tools, and a small flare gun, and followed Valira toward the storage shed. "Lily, stay hidden. Do not come out until I say," he instructed. The girl nodded quickly, her wide eyes filled with trust. Valira crouched low, moving silently like a shadow beside him. "They will check every corner. But humans have ingenuity," she said. "We can use that." Mark had never felt so alive. Every muscle in his body was alert, every sense tuned to the smallest sound. He had spent years surviving in harsh conditions, but this was different. This was life and death, and failure was not an option. The drones began scanning closer. Their lights swept across the mining colony, glinting off metal walls and scattered equipment. Mark ducked behind a pile of crates, his heart pounding. Valira whispered instructions, directing him to move in specific patterns, creating false trails. "Make them believe the target left," she said. "Confuse them." Using tools and old equipment, they rigged small traps and distractions. Flares shot into the air, sending glowing streaks that drew the drone's attention. Clattering noises echoed from empty buildings as they moved carefully through the shadows. The alien technology was advanced, but Mark's human unpredictability, his knowledge of the colony, gave them a small edge. For hours, they worked, moving silently, avoiding detection. Valira's eyes never wavered from the drones, analyzing their patterns, predicting their movements. Mark felt admiration growing for the alien woman who had appeared at his doorstep just a day ago. She was strong, intelligent, and skilled, yet she did not seem arrogant or unapproachable. There was humility in her movements, a sense of survival not for conquest but for life itself. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the drones began retreating. The interstellar authorities, unable to locate their target in the maze of the colony, called for reinforcements. Valira crouched beside Mark, her hand steady on the small device that had blinked the night before. "We have bought enough time," she said, "but they will not give up easily. We must prepare for the next stage." Mark nodded. "We can't stay here. Not with them coming back." Valira glanced toward Lily, who was still safely hidden in the house. "Your daughter. She must not know the danger. Fear can weaken even the strongest." Mark felt a wave of protectiveness. "She won't know. I promise." They moved quickly to gather essentials, food, water, tools, and the small personal items they could carry. Valira carried a compact energy device, a relic of her people, capable of cloaking them from sensors temporarily. Mark felt a surge of gratitude. Without it, their escape would be impossible. As they prepared to leave, Valira finally spoke of herself. "I am a fugitive because I refuse to betray my people," she said quietly. "I was forced to make a choice. Protect the innocent or obey orders that would have caused their destruction. I chose life, and now I am hunted for it." Mark listened carefully, feeling the weight of her words. He had faced hardship, but nothing like this. She was alone in the galaxy, fleeing from powerful forces simply because she had chosen what was right. It was a story of courage, of morality beyond personal safety, and yet here she was, trusting him enough to let him into her secret. "Then we fight smart," Mark said firmly. "Not with weapons, but with brains. We survive and Lily stays safe." Valira smiled faintly. "I believe in humans. Your ingenuity is remarkable. We may have a chance." Under the cover of the early morning, they slipped from the house, careful to leave no trace of their movement. Valira activated the small cloaking device, and for a moment they vanished from sight. The drone's sensors swept past them, failing to detect their presence. Mark felt a rush of relief. For the first time, he allowed himself a small breath of hope. They moved across the mining fields using tunnels and equipment as cover. Valira guided him, her knowledge of advanced alien tracking technology helping them avoid detection. Mark realized that her survival skills were beyond anything he had ever imagined. She moved with precision, observing every detail, every movement, every shadow. Hours passed as they navigated the dangerous terrain. They avoided patrols, climbed over rocky hills, and crossed treacherous paths. Mark's strength was human, grounded in endurance and stubbornness. Valira's agility and intelligence complemented his resilience perfectly. Together they were a team, united by necessity and shared determination. Eventually they reached a secluded canyon, a natural barrier that would provide temporary safety. Valira deactivated the cloaking device and Mark looked around at the towering rock formations. "This will work for now," he said. "We can rest here, regroup, and plan our next move." Valira nodded. "Yes, and we must do it quickly. They will search methodically and our time is limited." As they set up a small camp, Mark glanced at Valira. "You're incredible. I can't imagine what you've gone through. Why trust me?" Valira's eyes softened. "Because you chose kindness without expecting anything in return. That is rare, Mark. Most humans, or aliens, would turn me away. But you did not. That simple act is proof enough that some beings are worth saving." Mark felt a strange warmth at her words. He had never thought of himself as heroic. He had simply done what any parent would do: protect a child, help someone in need. Yet here he was, standing beside an alien fugitive, plotting survival against forces far beyond his understanding. Night fell again, and they shared a quiet meal. Lily had been left safely hidden in a nearby safe location, with instructions to remain silent and protected. Mark worried constantly about her, but he trusted Valira's guidance. Her calm presence was reassuring, and he knew that without her they would have been discovered long ago. As they rested, Valira spoke again, sharing fragments of her life. She told stories of her home planet, of cities that floated among the clouds, of forests that glowed at night, and of oceans that reflected multiple suns. Mark listened, fascinated, imagining the beauty she described. It was a stark contrast to the harsh, dusty landscape of the mining colony, and it reminded him of the vastness of the galaxy, full of wonder, danger, and unexpected connections. Mark realized something else too. In helping Valira survive, he had discovered courage within himself that he did not know existed. He was more than a miner, more than a father struggling to make ends meet. He was a protector, a strategist, a human capable of remarkable ingenuity when the stakes were highest. Suddenly, a distant rumble reached their ears. Valira's eyes sharpened. "They are returning," she whispered. Faster this time, more determined. Mark's heart pounded. "Then we do what we must. For Lily, for life itself." Using the canyon's natural cover, they prepared traps and diversions. Valira's alien knowledge combined with Mark's understanding of the terrain allowed them to create false trails, confusing the pursuing forces. Small explosions and sound decoys sent the ships on wild chases, buying precious time. Hours passed, and finally the pursuers seemed to retreat, frustrated and unable to locate their target. Valira exhaled deeply, a rare display of relief. Mark smiled faintly, exhausted but triumphant. "You did it," he said. "We did it." Valira looked at him, her expression softening. "No, you did it. Your heart, your courage, it saved us both. And most importantly, you protected the child. That is what truly matters." Mark nodded, thinking of Lily, safe and unaware of the danger she had narrowly escaped. "We couldn't have done it without each other," he admitted. Valira smiled faintly. "Perhaps this is how the universe reminds us, that even in vast darkness, trust and compassion can create light." As dawn approached, the two sat together, watching the first rays of sunlight paint the canyon walls. They were tired, weary from the night's events, yet a sense of hope had taken root. The galaxy was vast and danger would always be near, but they had discovered strength in each other and in humanity's enduring courage. Mark thought of the storm that had brought Valira to his door, of the choice he had made to help a stranger, and of the chain of events it had set in motion. He realized that sometimes survival was not just about strength or skill, it was about compassion, trust, and the willingness to take risks for what was right.